and we are live with our 13th edition of Nansen Office Hours. Alex, how you doing this week?
Doing well in a new part of the world.
Where are
Or
you?
actually, I was in the same part of the world, but I'm now free from quarantine. I'm in Singapore.
Quarantine jail, yeah. You've
Yeah,
escaped.
I have. Uh, Lawfully, I should say. I don't want to. Yes, served my 2 weeks in quarantine, and now I'm a free man.
Yeah, how are
How are
you
you doing?
enjoying freedom?
It's good. Singapore is very nice. I've actually never been here before, so
Really?
been
Despite
yeah.
having lived in Hong Kong?
That's right. It's for some reason I never went to Singapore before, um, but now I'm here, trying to make the most out of it. Eating local food like Shake Shack, as you saw before this call.
Yeah,
Um,
I was hoping we'd do a mukbang on this edition of Office Hours.
yeah, yeah. No, I have been eating some local foods. That's good. How are you doing?
I am doing good. I'm in a new part of New York City, just
Oh,
continuing
nice.
my Airbnb tour of the city. Currently in Greenwich Village, which is loud but interesting.
Sounds fun.
I I don't think this will be the spot that I settle down in, but maybe somewhere downtown.
Cool. That sounds good because you're planning on staying in New York for a while, right?
Yeah, I think so. We'll see. TBD, but
Yeah.
definitely enjoying it. I think New York's a pretty exciting and unique place.
Yeah.
The
Indeed,
home
it
of Shake
is.
Shack.
Oh, is it really? I didn't know that.
Your dinner. I think
That's
so.
great. So that's
I
some
think I think
local NYC food. Ah, cool.
in the chat,
But
Juan says his friend is a broker in Williamsburg. If I need a contact, thank you very much.
that's great.
We can chat about that after the office hours.
Nice.
Um, so today, we don't have too much prepared, so this will be an improv session a little bit. We'll be poking through the dashboards and seeing what pops up, what surprises us. If you're new here, feel free to message in the chat and give us some ideas on projects to look into. We're happy to dive into whatever project you're currently looking at. So, yeah, feel free to be active in the chat. Where do you want to start today, Alex?
I've been monitoring the gas tracker dashboard quite a bit, which also created a bit of engagement. So we could have a look at that and see what's happening with the gas price. Should we start there, perhaps?
Let's do it.
All right, sharing my screen. Let's see. Can you see my screen now?
I sure can.
All right. So for those of you who have not seen this before, this dashboard is quite useful to understand what exactly is happening on Ethereum with regards to the gas price. So this shows the gas price over the last, I guess, 24 hours. It's cooled down quite a bit since some of these extreme gas prices that we've seen lately. I remember monitoring this and seeing it was at some point above 1,400 Gwei, the median gas price, which is pretty insane. But it's still, it's still very high. Like it's cruising pretty much above 100 all the time. It hasn't gone lower than 121, it looks like, in the last 24 hours. So still a lot of congestion or usage of Ethereum. And so, you can see some top level metrics here on how much Ether is being spent on gas in the last 1 hour, 24 hours, and 7 days. But where it gets interesting is when you look at these different entities. And so Binance, which was kind of blamed for driving up gas prices, they are a significant spender of gas. If you look across all their wallets, and we track about 3 million Binance wallets. We don't just track the main ones, but also the user deposit wallets, which they control. And so this shows the proportion that's spent by Binance out of the top 20 entities. And so you can see they're cruising at around like 30% of that group of entities, which is quite high, and visually you can see it; they're quite big. Huobi is also another big spender of gas. BlockFi is quite a big spender as well.
Is that dip in Binance spending when they suspended withdrawals,
Yeah, I would
ERC20
imagine it is.
withdrawals?
Yeah, that's probably right. I mean, I haven't checked the exact time of it, but that sounds about right. I guess we could cross-check that later. There's, it would still be some gas usage because they're probably doing some like shuffling of wallets internally, but it's a good chance that was actually them, switching off the withdrawals for a little while.
Hmm.
Good observation. And so, yeah, Huobi, BlockFi, Nexo. So these are like all, the CeFi protocols, Kraken, FTX. And then this is a DeFi protocol actually, because they do like meta transactions. So DYDX has been spending a lot of gas, especially around here when we saw these like big liquidations happening. There's a lot of gas usage from DYDX. Crypto.com, OKX, KuCoin, Bitstamp, Bittrex, Gemini, Upbit, Coinbase, which we've noted before, but it's like underrated or undercounted because we're still working to improve our Coinbase coverage. MXC, Gate.io, and then DeFi Saver. This one is pretty interesting because probably this was very active trying to save CDPs or save vaults, right? I guess that's what people use DeFi Saver for. So that one spiked around the time of around the same time as DYDX when the markets were crashing. And you'll see Chainlink with some regular, spikes of gas usage, which is probably them like updating certain prices, I would imagine, like every day. Maybe they're topping up some ether or something. I'm not sure. I haven't looked into it. Yeah, so you can see the gas spender entities here. There's a lot of gas being spent by Curve. Interesting. In the last 1 hour. Actually, the last 24 hours. That's kind of unusual. So you can spot these very easily by just looking at these growth numbers, where they're high. Like Deribit is very active this last hour, relatively speaking. And you can also see like the individual accounts here. So the left one shows the entities, the right one shows individual addresses. So you can also click these, by the way. So if you like high gas consumer, I mean, maybe that's kind of obvious given that it's on top in this. But if we click it, it just opens the Etherscan link. I think we want to change this later to link to like Wallet Profiler. But for now, it's just linking to Etherscan. So you can see the address of it. Then, so that was the top part. And this is typically dominated by like CeFi protocols, like I mentioned, centralized exchanges, lending platforms like Nexo and BlockFi, because they process tons of transfers of tokens, typically, like Tether and lots of other ERC20s. But then when you scroll down, you see kind of the DeFi aspect, which is the consumers. So these are like smart contracts that are controlled by certain entities. And so the big one here is Uniswap. And it's pretty cool. You can see here as well that at the time of the markets really crashing and like liquidations taking place, Uniswap was for a short period of time like kind of squeezed out of the market. Like typically it does like 40% of the top 20, but it was actually as low as like 10% at some points here because Compound was really being used very heavily. Probably like liquidations and people trying to save their their assets from being liquidated, and also DYDX. So it's very interesting how you can see that they spike at the same time. And if you put the price of Ether and overlay this, I guess it really tanked around those times.
Did Aave have a spike there as well?
Let's see if we can see Aave. I'm just gonna scroll. Here we go. Doesn't look like it. So it could be because it could be someone else asked about this actually, and I haven't looked into it, but I suspect that maybe Compound like runs their own oracles, but Aave relies on Chainlink. So maybe that's like has something to do with it, where like the oracles needed to get updated very frequently. Actually, I'm just speculating here. I don't know what the answer is, but it could have to do. It could be that could be part of the reason. Because
I'm
I
wondering.
also saw. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, good. I was going to say, I'm wondering if part of the reason DYDX spiked is also because of people taking out flash loans to do liquidations. Because
Right. Yeah.
DYDX has the free flash loans.
Could be. That's a good point. I did see someone saying that it cost $3,000 to like update any DYDX position, like in gas. So yeah, I mean, it could be flash loans. They could also just be like people, trying to save what they have somehow. Um, yeah, haven't looked into the details. You also see DeFi Saver here again. So DeFi Saver is in both parts because I think they have some like externally owned account that controls some of the, I guess, addresses. I don't know if we can see it here. No, we can't really see it on this list here because they're not active right now. But yeah, so DeFi Saver is like also in the top 20. Curve and Dodo. Dodo is that's I think kind of new here, being used more and more, I guess. And then this shows the same thing as above, right? Like you see entities. And so we didn't really cover like why is all this stuff interesting, but I think it's definitely like it helps you understand like why the hell gas prices are so high. And like it's kind of I think of it as almost like a weather report on Ethereum, like what's actually happening, like what's being used, which applications, which protocols. And you see some stuff here like so rare. I think we spotted that last time too. Like I've not looked into this. There's like certain tokens here. Hopper token, not sure what that is. ZK swap. Yeah, so you can get some ideas on like what's happening, like what are people actually using on Ethereum, like where all these gas fees like being spent.
I think So Rare popped up on the hot contracts dashboard last week.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, maybe that's a good segue into the hot contract.
All right, let's do it.
All right, let's see.
The other thing I'll mention is when the markets are violently moving around, and there's a ton of network activity, whether it's people arbing between dexes and all that kind of stuff, and we see gas spike. There's, I think, two dashboards that are interesting to watch. One is the gas tracker, and then two is the dex trades. So you can just pull up both of those side by side, get some popcorn, and watch some absurd activity on chain.
Yeah, that's true. That's actually pretty fun, and you can see a lot of stuff here. Of course, the benefit is that we don't just show you DEX trades. We actually show you DEX trades with labels. So you can actually kind of read, okay, this looks like a MetaMask swap user that used 1inch in this case. And here you see the actual like MetaMask swaps contract interacting with Uniswap. You see some CDP creator making some trade for LixE. No idea what that is, but okay. Someone's doing that. And so it's kind of nice, it's kind of entertaining on the one hand and like mesmerizing. But sometimes you can also spot stuff here that is not necessarily that easy to spot, from any kind of more static dashboard. And these DEX trades are, pretty low latency. They come in, a couple of seconds after they actually get mined. And you can see like .eth addresses and so on. Sorry, go ahead.
We show the last 30 blocks, is that right? In terms of how many trades are in here?
I think we show the last 40 blocks. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of it is just Uniswap, which makes sense. You can also interact with these. You can sort, for example, value can be quite useful because you can surface like the highest value transactions. Oh, there's something weird going on with the sound. Would you mind muting for a sec? Thanks. And so you can see the largest trades happening. Like here's a $10 WBTC trade for 300 wrapped ether by SCP, which is a market maker. And here's a smart LP, interesting, doing some kind of sushi trade for WBTC. And
What
this,
happened?
yeah, I was just gonna say like this. If you sort it by value, I mean, you obviously see the largest ones first. But if there are, let's say a $1 million transaction comes in now, it will just pop to the top of this. So like it still updates as you get in more large trades.
What happened to the filters that that Lars had built for this? How come we don't have a token filter or a entity filter or a value filter or a DEX filter?
Yeah, we used to have it. I think we took it out temporarily, but it's going to come back. And so we're going to bring back the filter, and we're also going to make we're going to show aggregations. So like what are the top tokens, for example, in volume, over the last 40 blocks. And then that's going to just, update real time as the trades come in. So that's going to be pretty cool as well, like surfacing, what people are actually trading.
Yeah, I've gotten some requests for filters on this dashboard.
In the chat or just
No,
previously?
just in life.
In life, okay. Nice.
In discussions
Yeah.
with customers.
Cool. Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff we can do here, no doubt. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So those are kind of two very nice dashboards to look at when the markets are going crazy. But we also talked about the hot contracts dashboard, so maybe we can bring that up. All right. So what's happening here? Well, hot contracts basically shows you contracts that have been deployed in the last 7 days. You can actually change that parameter up here if you want to. But by default, it's in the last 7 days. And we surface the contracts that have a lot of inflowing funds. And so I think by default, it's sorted by inflow in the last hour. But you can also choose to sort it by inflow, in the last day or in the last 7 days. And we also have like the number of depositors. So like, here's one which has a lot of small deposits into L pool. Not sure what that is. This one has a lot of, Arrow one, which I think maybe we discussed before the call.
L pool actually might be interesting to look into. So L pool is launch pool, and I didn't really think too much of it until I opened up. I'm trying to think of where it is. Within L pool, there's a contract called, I think, L pool staking or something to that effect, and it's got 470 million TVL.
Oh wow, that's quite a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And so L pool takes staking from Rune, ERC20, Bondly, whatever, a bunch of different tokens. So it's definitely accumulating some volume. I'm actually not sure why it doesn't show up in the hot contracts. It might be because it was deployed a while back. If I recall correctly, actually, it launched the contract, and then it said you can deposit up to a week in advance. And they wanted to give kind of like a democratic start to this project, so anyone could deposit within that week. And then I think they turned on the actual rewards this past weekend.
Interesting.
But yeah, we can pull up L pool on Token God mode.
Yeah, I guess we didn't. Did we add the token or?
Yeah, it should be there.
So we don't need a custom version. Actually,
No, but we can also show that if people are interested in seeing how to plug in custom tokens.
Yeah, let's see. So I would just normally go to. Yeah, okay, it's here actually. That's nice. So we can plug that here. You could alternatively grab the token from like Etherscan or something and just paste it here. And this will do the same thing.
Maybe just telegraph your moves as you're doing them, just because your screen is a little laggy and
Okay.
pixelated. So
Okay, yeah. So if you don't see the token symbol in token God mode, that means it's not been whitelisted yet, but you can still view any token. So you just go to Etherscan and like grab the token address, and that's what comes after token when you're on the token page. And then you can just go to like token God mode custom down here, and it's custom because it's for like custom token addresses, and you just paste it in here. You might have to update the decimals, but by default most tokens are 18.
yeah, the
But
only major ones that aren't are USDC, which has 6, I think, and maybe USDT. I can't remember.
USDT as well, yeah, both of those
Yeah.
two. But yeah, so you see custom address, the custom version, and then the sort of plain one. And so I'm just going to close the custom one now because it's going to show the same thing. Uniswap, Gate.io, Hotbit, and you can see the inflow to exchanges. Interesting. No outflow. Have you looked at this? You know this not like a scam or something like that, or launch pool staking. Yeah, and then you see the pool here.
DYOR always.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you pull up launch pool staking on Etherscan
Yeah.
and then click the drop down,
Maybe we
you'll
can also
see-
look. Should we look at who's depositing into it, or?
yeah, but I think what's an interesting flow here is you pull it up on Etherscan first, and then you check, the token balances for that contract, and then when we open top depositors, we can
Like
swap
these
out
ones.
the, yeah, so Polka Starter, 1inch, Share, Rune, Paid, etc., etc. And then when we pull up top depositors for this, we can just swap out the address with because top depositors will show us L pool staked in that contract, and we want to check out these other tokens.
Right, makes sense. So who's been interacting with the? Oh, look at that VFAT. Wonder if it's the VFAT creator.
It is the man, the legend.
Wow, that's cool. Some smart LPs here on page 2. They could be depositing or selling the token. Like it's not actually that easy to tell from this.
Maybe we can check what VFAT is doing with
What's VFAT
under
doing?
wallet profiler for token.
Yeah, so then I just click here, profiler, and then boom, address. And this is going to show what they are doing. I guess they would know a thing or two about yield farms. So
Yes. For anyone in the audience who doesn't know, VFAT has a site called vfat.tools. This is an alpha leak for you. And if you ever see VFAT in a pool, you can frequently go to vfat.tools / whatever the token is. So he probably has one for LPool. So if you go to vfat.tools / LPool, this is how you find his unlisted pages. This is a big alpha leak, actually.
wow, this one, yeah.
Oh, but he
Launch
does have it here. But yeah, I mean, for example, like float. If you go to vfat.tools / float, you'll see the APYs, which aren't really listed anywhere else.
pool. Okay, looks like he wants me to input my Ether address, but people can do that. I'm not going to do that on air.
Dox yourself, come on.
Launch pool is here. Yeah, there's actually a bunch of these. So I guess I guess he just adds them to his own. Let's see, to his own website, right? As he's farming, you can get a history of like what's been happening here by sorting here. So looks like he bought some, right, on via 1inch, then put them into. Maybe is this like it's like a pool 2 type thing, or?
I'm not sure. I think if we go to if you look up launchpool.com or whatever the website is, we might find some more insights. Maybe it's launchpool.xyz or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, launchpool.xyz. And Medium Dex Trader in the chat says, "Yep, there is a pool too." So, yeah,
Okay.
this what we're looking at here is probably the pool too.
Anyway, it's pretty cool. Like it's yet another example of like you just got a hot contracts. Like I didn't know anything about this stuff, and then we just discovered it, right?
Yeah.
And this is true. We didn't plan this, up front. It's not like wow, what a surprise. No, it's actually I had no idea. Never looked at this before.
Although candidly, I was doing a demo yesterday, and I did find this one.
Okay. So maybe you guided me a bit.
But one thing I'll flag here before we move on from Launchpool. So we looked in the Launchpool staking contract, but to look in the actual Launchpool pool 2, we can also still go back to token god mode for LPool, and then pull up the Etherscan. Is that what we were looking at before, or
this one? The staking one.
Yeah.
You want to? Yeah.
Sorry, I said Etherscan. I meant to say Uniswap.
Did you want to show like one of these other tokens? Is that what you wanted to show, or?
No. Sorry, I wasn't very clear there. On the top balances, we can also look at the pool 2 depositors instead of the staking depositors.
Right. Yeah. So where do they deposit their Uniswap liquidity pool tokens? In the staking one?
No. Did you already pull that one up? But like on the Uniswap V2 LPool wrapped ETH, if we click top depositors.
Yeah, that one we just looked at.
Okay. Sorry,
Let's see. This one here, right?
I'm lagging. It's early.
That's okay.
Okay. Yeah. So we were looking at it.
So it's too early for you and it's too late for me, right? But that's how it is.
I thought we were looking at the staking contract.
Right. So this one just shows you kind of put funds into that pool. We could also like grab the LP tokens and then see where the LP tokens are being deposited. I mean, I would imagine that maybe goes into that staking contract, but I don't want to say anything wrong because it probably is. So, there's like different ways to find that out. Like we could just look at, the top balances for like the liquidity pool token itself. And then we'll probably spot that, this is being deposited into something. Actually, I think I'll do that just to go through that example and show you what I mean. So now I just copied the LP token, right? Like the Uniswap liquidity smart contract, liquidity pool smart contract, but that's the token in itself. And so we can actually plug that into token god mode custom. And when we will look at the top balances, I think we will probably see if there's somewhere where they're depositing them as like having more than like 90% of those tokens.
Wait, but is the contract for the LP token the same as the actual smart contract?
Yep.
Oh, I thought it was a separate one. Maybe you're right.
Should be. So look at this. 71% of them are deposited into Launchpool staking, and then 18% into Uniswap V2 locker. Not sure what that is.
Wait, since when do we have percentage? Is that a new column?
No, we've had that a long time. But these ones look a bit funky because they're very small. But we have them here.
No, we haven't had we haven't always had percentage.
Yeah, we have. You mean these ones, right? Wow. Like the percent of the total supply that's held by this address.
Yeah, I've totally glossed over that every single time.
It's quite useful. I use it. I mostly look at that when I look at balances. I don't really look at the numbers, unless it's like USD or USDC or USDT or something.
Are you sure we've had that for a while?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh my god.
The nonsense pros in the chat can back me up on this. But I mean, maybe this is something that is kind of difficult with Nansen, but it's also very powerful. Like you can kind of, the different dashboards are quite flexible, so you can kind of plug in, different addresses and stuff, and you get data on them. So now we did something a bit weird, right? Like we grabbed the address of the liquidity pool token and like plug that into custom address, and then we do token god mode on that LP token. But that makes sense to look at like where is it being deposited. So now we just discovered like, well, most of it's in staking. I don't know what this Uniswap v2 locker is, but if you wanted to find out, you could like drill down on some of this stuff, like who's depositing into it, for example. Um, you know, and you can go down all these rabbit holes to like understand what's going on here. I'm not going to go any deeper down this rabbit hole, but just want to see if there's anything interesting in this Uniswap v2 locker. No, doesn't look like it. Just one depositor, a token millionaire. Yeah, I don't know what that is. 2 transactions in. Interesting. Okay. But it seems like most of them locked them in this launch pool staking contract. Okay, should we zoom back up from this rabbit hole?
We should. In the chat, someone asked about Sea Vault, which I had mentioned whenever, sometime earlier to you. And I guess it bears mentioning that wrapped ETH is a little Yeah, exactly. Wrapped ETH is a little non-standard, just in the way it works and the way certain things get deposited into contracts. Like sometimes you deposit ETH and it wraps it for you. So the data around this specific contract is a little funky. So just addressing a comment in the chat here about Sea Vault Finance.
Yeah. Yeah, wrapped Ether unfortunately is not 100% standard ERC20 when it comes to the events it emits. So sometimes that means it's not clear, like funds being deposited, like wrapped Ether being deposited in certain smart contracts and things like that. But I mean, we have it that it would have popped up in hot contracts, at least the Sea Vault. Yeah, haven't really looked at it. Yeah, I mean, there are ways to just like look at this and see what does it hold, right? And it holds wrapped Ether. Okay, yeah. So unfortunately, with wrapped Ether, it's not. We won't really get, I think, accurate data for this one because it doesn't emit events properly, which is really annoying. But yeah, that's just, as Daniel said, that's just the way wrapped Ether is. Maybe we'll try to find a workaround for it at some point.
At some point, we definitely need to.
Yeah. You can also look at smart money depositors, so you can see where's the smart money depositing funds. And it seems like this L pool thing actually is something that people are aping into.
One thing we can actually also look at here. So one thing I'll say real quick is if you're in the chat, feel free to suggest any projects to look at. We're happy to dive in on anything live here. But we can also look at Pool, which was the recent airdrop token from Pool Together. And maybe we can look at top recipients from that airdrop to see who received it.
That's pretty cool. Let's do that.
Yeah. It's always interesting to see who is receiving an airdrop.
So I just plugged in Pool in the URL up here. This is the way I like to use Nansen with his URL parameters, because the nice thing is you can like refresh them. Some people have complained that if you plug in the token over here and you click refresh, it just removes the token symbol, which is stupid, but it's the way one of the platforms that we have built on works. But we're addressing that in Nansen 2.0, which is coming out later this quarter.
Soon TM.
Soon TM. But you can use these URL params instead. Just do question mark token symbol equals and then the token you want. Yeah, so this looks like typical kind of distribution over time, right? Like maybe people claiming over time. And so more and more DEX traders are getting Pool tokens into their hands. And also some of it is making it to exchanges. Uniswap, the most notable one, MXC, Gate.io, and Who. And you can see how it's been flowing into exchanges, which is kind of nice, actually. Because you can see, when we reached this point, there was actually a net outflow. So maybe, I haven't looked at the price. We can actually look at the price at the bottom. It's been pretty stable against Ether at least. It was at the highest here. So, and it kind of seems, I mean, again, do your own research, but doesn't seem like there's a lot of, tokens that are left to dump into the market, but we can actually, look at this more closely. And we can do that by scrolling down to top balances. And let's see, I guess Merkle distributor is probably the one that distributed the airdrop.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see some stuff right away. I mean, you're making some assumptions, right? But you could like verify them separately. This Merkle distributor received 1.5 million tokens, and it has sent 787,000 tokens, about half, a bit more than half. So my guess would be that that's the amount of tokens that have been claimed from the Merkle distributor contract, meaning, more than half of the tokens have been claimed, and maybe many of them are sold, and there's only like 713,000 left to claim. And then we could do what you said, right? You wanted to check the recipients, like who's been receiving these pool tokens, who's been claiming them. And to do that, I just, took this row. By the way, that's another thing people complain about, is that it's sometimes difficult to click the right row because it's a very long row, right? And you kind of lose track. Again, in Untitled 2.0, you will have row highlighting. You already see it in the gas tracker dashboard, but then it will be much easier to make sure you're actually clicking the right link.
Soon TM. Soon TM.
Soon TM. And so you can click depositors recipients over here, because we're going to see who's been receiving tokens from this contract. And here you go. Actually, it's kind of cool. Some of these have
ferocious.
Yeah, wow.
Oh, does that have a star next to it? It's a little pixelated.
It has a star, so it's someone that used to own.
Maybe they were squatting on it. One of these.
Good chance.
Benevolent squatters.
That's a good chance. There's a good chance of that. You can see some of these tags that I think come from some kind of DAO. What's it called? Sybil or something like that, which basically lets people show that they are protocol politicians or like active in governance, and so you can associate.
Is that what that @CoinHacks is?
Yeah, so you can associate a Twitter handle to an address, and we scrape the data from there because it's open. So sometimes you see that, which is kind of cool. It's not just ENS names like .eth, but you can sometimes see Twitter handles. We don't do that, of course, if people haven't like disclosed it. But when people put it out on sites, we take it as an intent of signaling that they're happy to share with the world what their address is. Yeah, so there's a couple of kind of interesting ones here. There's a Flashboy, Maker Voter, CoinHacks, the former owner of Few Oshes. Pretty evenly distributed.
Wocious is one of the top NFT artists.
Yeah. So maybe someone was squatting on their name. I mean, we could have a quick look to see if it has any other labels. There's also some Argent addresses, which is cool.
Have you used Argent?
Yeah, it's great. I've actually run a meetup introducing normies to DeFi where we show them how to use Argent.
Interesting. What would you use Argent for instead of like Rainbow or one of these other mobile wallets?
I haven't used Rainbow. I've heard good things about it, but is it an actual wallet or is it just a portfolio tracker? I mean,
it is. I think it is an actual wallet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Argent's like a smart contract wallet, right? So it's the security mechanism is quite interesting, where you can set up what they call guardians. So instead of you having to, self-custody some private key, it's actually a smart contract wallet which can be recovered if you have, n out of n guardians approve it. So I think you need a majority of the guardians to approve that you reset your wallet, for example, if you lose your device, or you can also lock it. So it's kind of, you can think of it as like a mobile wallet, which is meant, for normal people, not just like very technical crypto people who know how to custody a private key and so on. You don't even have to worry about the private key. I think so it's and it's also like very nice user experience. It's a great wallet. Of course, I think they've been suffering quite a bit because of gas, and I think gas is maybe even more expensive because it's a smart contract-based wallet, so it consumes a lot of gas. In fact, I do remember seeing in the past that Argent collectively has been like one of the biggest gas consumers as well.
Do they appear as an entity on the gas tracker?
They don't, I think, because they do, like some of their addresses are like meta transactions and stuff where they kind of cover gas costs for some transactions for users. But when you see these like wallets here, we don't associate them with Argent the entity because they aren't really the entity Argent. They're just normal people who use Argent for their wallet, right? It's not like Argent the team, if you see the distinction. So
right, but it is Argent as an entity consuming gas or whatever.
Yeah, I think at least the meta transactions will probably be handled by some kind of centralized wallet, so that should show up. But now I think more and more of these the transactions you can make in Argent are actually paid for by the user itself. It's not paid, so you need to have Ether, I guess, in the smart contract, something like that.
Got it. Oh, one thing that I think is worth noting on the gas that we didn't mention. So FTX actually subsidizes the gas for withdrawals for their users, which is pretty impressive.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah. So I think I remember seeing some tweets about them spending $100 for like a $7 transaction. So the transaction came up to like $107, but like 100 of it was FTX subsidizing the gas. Yeah. So yeah, they're paying out the wazoo for gas.
Yep. I've actually been wanting to replace this column with like USD denoted because I think Ether is not like a very intuitive currency for most people to like reflect on how much that is. But if you just take 789, okay, now I updated 792, right? 792 ETH to USD. I mean, just to get an idea, that's like $1.3 million. So if they're not charging anything, that's actually not just withdrawals, but it's still 1.3 million. And if they're not charging anything on like withdrawals, then that's all like straight on a hit to the bottom line for FTX.
Yeah. Although a guy with a great name in the chat here just said that they changed the fee system today. Now you need to stake a certain level of FTT in order to get the free withdrawals. Yeah, I mean, that's a fantastic idea on their from their side on the token model.
They're not the first to do that. Like Nexo does the same thing actually.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know.
So you get like more free withdrawals for more Nexo held in your Nexo account. So yeah, that's a very smart, very, very simple thing to do, and that just can drive demand for FTT in the case of FTX.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. I mean, it's cool if you hold FTT, I guess, and it's cool for FTX. It's not a bad idea. It doesn't seem like it should go out of their pocket to be paying those insane gas fees, but yeah. I think the key thing with Binance though was that people got kind of pissed off because if the cost is like taken by the customer, then at least you should be able to withdraw your funds. Like it shouldn't get locked, you know. Sure, let
Right.
the
No.
users pay $100 to withdraw them, you know.
Yeah, I mean it was absurd when they shut off ERC20 withdrawals. Like that was a I think
Yeah,
they lost a lot of customers that day.
I
It
think
was
so as
just
well.
it's almost like Robinhood shutting down the trading of GameStop.
Mm, mm-hmm.
It's one of those, I mean, not quite the same, but
Mm.
it's just one of those like kind of user hostile moves
Yeah,
that comes out of left field.
yeah. I mean, and it's especially relevant because of the whole BSC thing, right? Where people are questioning like, what's the importance of decentralization? But then when something like that happens, like, hey, actually, you know, your funds could get frozen, you know, at a
Uh,
really bad time.
on the topic of BSC, some people have asked, not in the chat, but in general, what is our plan with alternate chains, tracking other L1s or L2s? Maybe you can opine on that a little bit.
Yeah, L2s we have on the roadmap. Support for L2s like Optimism, ZK Sync, Loopring, and maybe a few other ones like Matic. Well, which is more like a side chain, but L2s and side chains. That's definitely coming. Other chains, mostly it's been about our team's bandwidth, and we want to be conscious of not taking on too many chains because it creates split focus for the team. And there's a lot of work that we put into like wallet labeling, having good like algorithms for that, monitoring systems, etc. And when you add more chains, it's not just the initial investment uh, that we take to develop support for those chains, but we also need to make sure we have excellent label coverage and so on. So with BSC, it's kind of interesting because you can actually use the same addresses or your same private key and wallet and so on. So you kind of we actually get a lot for free when it comes to wallet labels for BSC. But you still have to kind of treat it separately, like without mixing things up with Ethereum data. So we haven't really, said we're gonna support BSC, but it's not like we are opposed to it. And we have to say that this is by far the chain that's been requested the most, actually, outside of Ethereum. So we
So
are.
maybe we'll see a Binance and a like a
That's
Binance Punks
that's
hard fork.
that's pretty funny actually. Binance and yeah. Um, yeah, I mean we're not ruling it out. Like we don't if we do what our customers want, and if our customers want BSC, then we'll add support for it. But I hope people understand like we're not gonna be able to like turn around and implement support for it like overnight, you know. Um, but yeah, so we're actively monitoring it, and there's a chance that we're gonna have support to it in the not very distant future.
Good stuff. Does anyone in the chat have any requests for projects to look at? I'll take that as a no. Yeah, let's check out this Ferocious wallet and see if they had
Okay.
any other ENS names.
Yeah, we actually didn't check that. I just brought it back up now. Looks like that was the only. Huh. That's the only ENS name they had.
So
They
maybe
did.
maybe this is the man himself.
Yeah. Seems weird though. I don't know. It just doesn't. Yeah, I mean, it could be. Fuocious, Gnosis Safe Creator, Pool Creator, MetaMask Swap User, High Activity, Medium Dex Trader. Interesting. What did they do with those tokens though? Did they sell them or provide liquidity? Add pool. Okay, so they added liquidity. They didn't dump them. They just took the tokens and provided liquidity right away. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I guess we could go down a rabbit hole on this one as well, but maybe best to leave that as an exercise to
I
users.
Yeah, I think the final thing we can kind of go through here is the advanced smart alerts, which
Oh yeah,
is a new feature that just rolled out recently.
yeah. Should we briefly show token flows as well?
Okay.
Because it's one of the things we have in the advanced smart alerts. So this shows uh, smart money flows into and out of certain tokens, which can be quite interesting. So you can look at inflow into tokens and over different time periods, like 1 hour, 1 day, 7 days. And you can also look at money flowing out of tokens. So it looks like there's a lot of outflow of smart money from IBETH, for example, which I think is, what is that, an alpha project?
Mm-hmm.
And then you can also look at it from like just the number of smart money addresses, and like Sushi seems to have had a large outflow in the last hour, but
But
then
that could be staking, right?
could be, yeah, that's true. So that's like, you have to take this with a pinch of salt, or like try to drill a bit deeper to figure out what's going on. Yeah, and Sushi is kind of an odd one in that sense. Exchanges, though, the biggest one in inflow, so Sushi flowing into exchanges, like 4 million. But
And
then,
but
yeah,
exchanges also includes Uniswap and SushiSwap, so that could be pool
that's right.
twos.
Could be pool twos as well. Yeah. Um, you can sort them in different, like Rye seems to have a lot of inflow into exchanges, and that makes sense because it was like this liquidity mining scheme, right, for Rye. And so there's a lot of people. It was actually the biggest one on a 7 day basis, where $65 million worth of Rye went into exchanges. And as you just pointed out, that's probably, you know, wallets providing liquidity to a pool two type thing.
Yeah, Rye wrapped ETH I think was the big one, and then they had Rye died, maybe Rye died,
Mm,
with the intent of farming the governance token FLX,
right,
I believe.
right. Makes sense. But you asked about smart alerts, so let's go over there. And so I just showed that because some of those concepts kind of can be used as advanced smart alerts. So we have the simple one, which, by the way, we've simplified we've simplified the UI a bit because it was kind of overwhelming. So now you just like input trigger name, and then you can enter, optionally you can enter addresses that you want to monitor, and then event types. Like, for example, maybe you want to monitor a specific address creating contracts. So let's say you want to do like Andre Cronje's address or something and monitor what he's creating, and you would get Telegram notifications whenever he creates a contract, which is pretty cool. Or like, yeah, who knows, Banteg or any of these other Rockstar Solidity developers. That's the simple one. But the advanced one is pretty confusing. Um, you start by adding a trigger name, and then there's different queries. So token flows, which we just showed you, you can explore that dashboard to set the right filters that you want. But you can look at, smart money token flows, and you can even set like the age of the token. If you just want to look at like very new tokens, you can like look at only the ones that were deployed in the last 7 days, but by default it's at like 1 year. And then you can say, hey, I want to see, I want to get notified if I see like a minimum threshold of $1 million flowing into this token, in the last hour or in the last day or in the last week. And you can do this little hack where if you want to see outflow, you just do minus. So that's like not very intuitive, but like, let's say you wanted to have, 1 million. Oh, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's 1 million. This would be, trigger whenever you have $1 million flowing into this token in the last hour. But you could just do minus to do like outflow. So it's not very intuitive, but like that's how it works. And you can select as always, like Discord, Telegram, or Slack to get notifications for this. So, if you're jumping into a new token, maybe this is something to set up. That's how we think about this. Like, it's kind of nice that you can integrate. It sort of becomes this like big sort of decision support system where you can discover stuff and do due diligence through the dashboards, then maybe make a trade, and then once you've made the trade, you might want to get notifications if something happens. Like, you want to monitor that position, and so using something like token flows can be quite useful for you to monitor like what's happening with it. You can even do simple transactions and just say, hey, I want to monitor any transaction that's above 100,000 for whatever token I just aped into, like 1-inch token. I can just add that, and maybe I only care about smart money, so I don't care if they're not in the smart money segment. So these are like extremely customizable, and you can do a lot of cool stuff with them. Almost like anything you can imagine, you can do with either like simple or advanced smart alerts. I think the other one you wanted to show though was like hot contracts, right? And this is the same kind of idea, right? Like, you can look at the dashboard. It's pretty convenient. You just links to that here, and you can go and like play with the parameters you want and like look at the different columns and say, actually, I think 1 day seems to be like a good time granularity. Then I'm going to use minimum inflow on 1 day, and say like, what are the parameters? Well, looks like these two are above 1 million, so maybe I just want to get 1 million. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And I only care about new contracts like in the last 7 days. Could change that to like 30 days or even 1 day or 2 days or whatever I want, and you get notifications. So like, this is pretty cool. I think we definitely have like many customers using this, the smart alerts, but this is, you can create stuff that we haven't even thought about, right? Like this is like a massive alpha generation machine, if you learn how to use it effectively.
One thing I'll note about smart alerts is when you're setting up a trigger, you should try and make them as specific as possible. Nothing is worse than getting 100 notifications for some stuff that you don't really care about, because it'll just motivate you to mute the channel, and then you'll eventually miss the actually important stuff. So try and make your triggers as specific as possible, whether it's by setting a filter for the USD value, or choosing specific tokens, or specific event types like just contract creations. Ultimately, you can funnel multiple triggers into the same Telegram chat, so you can almost set up like 2 or 3 different Telegram chats with themes, with multiple triggers in each one. So for example, you could have one Telegram chat just called contract creations, and you could have Andre's wallet monitored in one trigger, you could have Bantag's wallet monitored in one trigger, or SushiSwap, or whichever ones, and that way you have like full control over that set of alerts you're receiving. And then you have another one called whale wallets or something like that, or interesting wallets, and you could be tracking newbie.eth, millidextrader.eth, degenspartan.eth, vfat.eth, and just get alerts based on that.
Yeah. One thing we want to add, we don't have it yet, and I don't know when we will ship it, but to Daniel's point about, you don't want to create triggers that always trigger. You don't want to create smart alerts that trigger too much. It would be quite nice if when you selected your criteria, you click like simulate or something like that, and it just told you how many times it would have triggered in the last week, right? Because then if it says like 1,000, then you probably need to make it more specific, and you could like play around with it. But we don't have that yet. Hopefully we will add it, in the not too distant future.
Soon TM.
Soon TM.
All right. Well, I think we're hitting the hour here. So anything else to add, Alex?
No, I think that's pretty much it from my side. Hope you guys learned something new. as always, and see you in our Discord.
Yeah, thank you everyone so much for joining. We do these sessions every week, so feel free to come back next Wednesday. If you have any feedback on the stuff that we've covered here today or any ideas for future sessions, feel free to reach out at any time, either on Discord or on Twitter. And we look forward to seeing you guys again next week. Have a great week. Happy trading. Be safe in the markets. And enjoy. Bye.
Bye-bye.